You're listening to the iRacers Lounge podcast, where we discuss everything iRacing in a casual setting. Enjoy.
Welcome to the iRacers Lounge. I am your host, Mike Ellis. iRacers Lounge is a podcast for the iRacer, where we talk all things iRacing in a casual setting. Joining me are the usual characters, David Hall.
Hello, hello.
Greg Hectus.
What's up, everybody?
And Tony Groves.
Hey, good evening, gentlemen.
Well, welcome. On the show today, we'll be covering the first race of the iRacing Coke Series Playoff with Evan Pasocca. We'll go over all the new content released for the upcoming Build Week, and we have a Team Tifosi first in the iRacing NIS Series.
Also, don't forget that we have our website going, so you can follow along with us on your PC or mobile device in real time as you're listening to the show. You can see for yourself all the great topics and products that we are discussing. Go to iRacersLounge.com and select the show notes. We hope to see you there.
GridFinder 2.0 is bigger and better than ever, with more ways to narrow your search for your next sim racing league. Featuring over 1,000 leagues from over 25 racing sims across every platform, your place on the grid is just a couple clicks away. Visit www.grid-finder.com to find a league or to upload your own. GridFinder is the home of online sim racing leagues.
So, did you guys, even with the lockdown, get to go on any good road trips this summer, guys?
I haven't. Trying to keep it home. I work from home, stay at home. That's the plan.
Well, it does look like iRacing is getting to go. So, first thing we're going to cover in the topics, Evan Pasocca posts a Pass Me the Keys Twitter to iRacing. And it looks like they're focusing on dirt ovals on this trip.
Yeah, it's a picture of the iRacing van, a gray van with the logo on the side. And that's where they carry all the scanning equipment when they go and scan, at least in North America. But Greg Hill did confirm that they're loading up the van for a big dirt oval focused scan trip.
So is that they're going to a big dirt oval, or it's just a big trip that's dirt oval focused?
I wonder if it's going to be something where they just hit as many tracks as they can get.
That's
right?
what I'm thinking. The word focused indicates more than one.
What is the big area? Like, I'm not familiar with all this places
Through
in the
the
States.
Midwest.
Would it be the Midwest?
Midwest and Mid-South. There's a lot of dirt tracks
I
down
think
here,
Kenny
too.
Schrader, where's Kenny run?
St. Louis, Kenny Wallace runs a lot in the St. Louis area.
Right. So this, call up Kenny Wallace or Kenny Schrader and see where they're going, and hey, just follow along. They're racing almost every night, I think, in some cases through the summer. So you could scan a bunch of tracks that way. I love the word focused. I really think that means more than one. Now, in the replies to the Twitter, there was speculation, of course. And of course, everyone who wants to put in, their favorite dirt oval and just throw it out there, hoping.
Well, we're sort of talking what might be new content. Let's jump right into actually announced new content. We have a whole series of videos, and I did get a chance to preview these this morning. The first one is a set of shots of the new Porsche 911 GT3 Cup. I guess this is going to replace the old Cup car that was, Cup, that might be confusing, the old Porsche Cup car that was basically almost a rough Cup, right? It's a really nice looking car with a slightly brushed metallic look and a lot of nice moves. The track looked like Sebring, but a couple of the turns I didn't recognize.
I think that's the Hockenheim track. If I'm mistaken, I think that's the new track that they're coming up with what's coming out.
Now, Porsche is an awesome partner, and iRacing really goes all out for Porsche, more so I think than others. And in this case, this car, I mean, they put it on all the social medias. They had not one YouTube video, but two YouTube videos. They had a Twitter with a video. They had a Instagram with nice screenshots. Lots of coverage of this. Porsche was obviously covering it as well.
Yeah, David, it says Hockenheim is the track.
That's interesting. I need to go ahead and get that track because some of those turns, it was like, that almost looks like Sebring. At this point, you might think that most of the top brass at iRacing should be cruising around in Porsches, no?
I just don't. I mean, I'm not a road guy, so I don't really get it. You know, all these cars look exactly the same to me. I mean, I really can't tell the difference just like in a casual glance.
That's okay. And, Porsche's been like that for 50 years now, isn't it?
Well, supposedly this one's easier to drive is kind of the message. They show them kind of doing some power slides and different things like that, and they're able to hold the car better. It's got a better balance.
It's the old. If I remember much from when I was trying to qualify with the old Cup car, it's very, very, very loose under braking, and even their RSR with all the stuff on it is a loose car in it. I think just because the Porsche having the Boxer motor sitting behind the, right on the axles of the tires, it's very, very twitchy under braking. And I think if this one handles a little bit better, I think it'll be a fun car to drive.
Yeah, all the Porsches definitely have a similar style, and they're pretty easy to pick out if you're out on the road because they have a unique headlight style now with kind of the 4 LEDs. So that's what always kind of jumps out at me anytime I'm out on the road.
I have the one that you call the RUF, RUF, and that was kind of before the official first Porsche came in, right?
That was when EA still had the license and that they had to call them RUFs.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yes. Yeah, no other company could use the Porsche name in any video game because of the 10-year license that EA had until it was up. So then now you can get Porsche. I don't think Porsche is ever going to sign that deal again.
Right, they're getting a lot of traction with iRacing right now, so
I'm sure
they're happy with that.
In general, they're just getting it. It's easier to promote your own name instead of letting just one entity do it, right?
Okay, so let's move on. What's maybe this is where the van is going, Tony? Where do you think?
That'd be quite a road trip.
That'd be one heck of a road trip. They got something crazy going on here. That's in Saudi Arabia. It's called the Jetta track. So they got like lightsabers and X-wings and stuff flying around there.
I don't think it's Jedi.
Oh, well, it should be. It's kind of a neat picture. I've never seen, the creation of these tracks, and kind of you get a nice overview. You got some parts completed. It's kind of a neat picture.
This is going to be a very twisty and aerodynamic track. I don't know how they're calling. I think they're calling it in some of the posts the fastest street circuit, which is not really a street circuit.
So, in the first picture, it's kind of the overhead view. The track along the left side goes along the coast of the ocean, and I'm thinking runoff. FIA. We need runoff. Well, how about the runoff in that right-hander scoop? The runoff's right off into the water.
I'm pretty sure there's a wall going to be there.
You got something better than me. I was just going to say some smart-ass comment.
No,
there's no runoff. It's literally like, 50 feet from the edge of the water. And if you were to I imagine if you were to go off the track right there, you'd end up in the water.
See, the thing...
kind of like the Nashville Bridge, right?
Yeah, the thing is this track, and I think I agree with what Tony said, is we don't really often see a track being built from the beginning processes. We've seen like tracks been repaved and things like that, but we never get to see this process of something being made from scratch.
Not since Abu Dhabi, probably.
Yeah, pretty much. That's probably the last brand new track, but I don't even remember. I don't know if I remember even seeing images of them doing it. Actually, that's a lie. I think I remember because that whale hotel was like a big thing when that was finally finished.
Well, why are we talking about a Formula One track? Well, because, we're going to, hopefully, they're going to scan it at some point.
I'm wondering with the way that the world's going right now with all these outside tracks, if these are ones that iRacing's just going to purchase the scans of themselves instead of actually going out and doing it so that they don't have to travel around the world.
It's working so far with the European Formula One tracks they've added recently. Let's keep moving. Damage updates for Season 4, 2021. We get a post from Greg West. I'm going to read some of this. He said, with the Season 4 release, members will see notable updates to the manner in which the LMP1, LMP2, GTE, GT3, and supercars are able to repair damage. The systems updated include both steering and aerodynamic damage. The user experience should now be greatly improved, notably in endurance races, where steering can be completely repaired, so the steering wheel is straight, while aerodynamic damage can be repaired as well. The end result is an accident may require a lengthy pit stop, but the car will have the opportunity to be competitive after the repairs have taken place. We are excited to have these updates applied in time for the Bathurst 1000 and the Petit Le Mans special events that are in the next endurance events on the calendar.
I'm looking.
That would be nice.
Well, yeah, this kind of emphasis puts. Sorry, Tony. This puts emphasis on, staying with it. Not jumping out, because it's always disheartening if you're slow and trying to run a long distance race.
Yeah. Once again, Greg, I was just going to interject with some smart ass comment. Like they finally heard about our plight in the Daytona. Oh, this will be helpful for the next one for schlubs like us.
I think you guys did it. Your play was already done. I think you left the team for your date.
So this is the flower patch.
The flower patch.
Title idea.
So somebody wrecks your car. You spend 45 minutes, an hour to repair it, and then you can have a good time. You can race another 22 hours. Everybody can, and be competitive and run real lap times and so forth. I love it. I think it's a great idea.
Well, the most frustrating thing is if that wheel is not straight. If you can't get the steering straight, you just can't go. You can't keep it under control.
Well, I mean, if it's right or left broken one way, when you turn that way, it all of a sudden kicks it really hard that way. It's really hard to try and, like David's saying, it's really hard to even know how to adjust your steering inputs for it.
Well, are we ready to talk? We're going to kind of sneak in some results, it looks like, and start talking some special results. And I guess I'm going to go humble brag here, right?
Yeah, you don't get to lead into this one. Mike, you got to take the wheel for this guy.
Yeah, I'm going to read this one off. I put the results in the regular section here because they are special. They're not our normal week-to-week results. And so we're going to talk David's win here. Tifosi Racing celebrates a major milestone with the first NIS top split victory. Teammate Greg Hectus comes through and gives David Hall just the push needed to make a dramatic last lap pass for the win in top split. Congratulations, David. You're running 4th in points.
Yeah, it was exciting. It timed out perfect. I told Greg, stay low, because you'll be able to latch on the draft. And I don't think you were damaged, were you?
No, the thing that happened, we'll go quickly into this, but I was having major computer issues that race. I started from pit road, and then didn't they not wreck coming to the green? And
I don't know if we had a wreck.
Yeah, there was a caution right when I joined the server again because I had to reset my computer, so I was a lap down, and I eventually got it back, and then I lost the draft and got lapped, and that was probably with what, 5 to go, I think, and then I kind of got snuck in the draft with you guys, and I stopped somebody, I held a couple guys up, and then you took your opening, and I was able to help you out. But my car was fine. I was running out of fuel, which is what was the problem.
And you got a video here of that last lap or so. And Greg, you were putting on a little bit of a block there, protecting David coming to the line out of 3 and 4. You just moved up a little bit, but it caused the guy to jerk up a bit and lose his momentum.
Well, I was technically trying to play where nobody ran me over because I ran out of fuel out of 4. So
Also, the leader actually got too far out in front of his help. He got way out there on his own, and he said he was kind of lamenting at the end. I should have blocked, but if he had tried to throw a block with that run, there was going to be no lifting. I was either going to pull over and miss him, or we were all going to die.
Yeah, I was watching it, and I'm like, well, we've already made our bed. Let's see what happens.
But it was exciting, and I was running very consistent at Daytona all week. We'll get more into that, but it was a definitely, you need help and luck to win at the plate track. But I was in position 3 times and finally had the help, and boom, it happened.
Well done. So were the nerves any different than normal when you're in a win situation in a top split?
I don't really. In this you're having to concentrate too hard here to get nervous. I think where you can get nervous is when you're driving around, say at Darlington with a 10-second lead, and thinking about all the things that could go out of control. Because there's nothing else going on, but in this situation there's too much going on. I can't be nervous when I'm having to react.
We need the what do they call it, pedometer data.
I was thinking about actually buying one of those just for racing. I don't like to wear watches under normal circumstances, but yeah, it would be neat.
Well, very well. Nice win. We wanted to take a special mention of it because it is top split. It really means something. A Daytona win is big to begin with, but when you're in the top split, those are hard to win. So, well done.
And then I get to return the favor. Last night, we were at the big 500, and it's Crown Jewel race going to Mike, Mr. Ellis. He takes the Southern 500 in his 76th win.
I can't believe it. I can't believe I won it. And I'm not a fan of the long races. Even during the race, I'm like, yeah, this is way too long. Well, Greg, you were telling me this is the point of the race where the East Coast guys are dropping like flies.
Well, and that's one of the things that was, what did we get? I think we finished at what, 12? It was 12:50 my time, I think, is when mine finished. And yours was like a couple minutes behind. But, it's the time zones that can really affect it. Like for me on the East Coast time, I was up from 8 o'clock in the morning, or I've been up earlier than that, till midnight. And your 1 hour, that 1 hour can really make a difference even for yours, right?
Yeah, it's 6 to 10 my time, which is okay. That's my note. I usually go to bed at 10, so it's perfect. But so I had no problem. It was a great race. I led the most laps. I had the fastest lap of the race. I had a guy at the end who was faster than me, and it was just like David said a moment ago. As far as being nervous, I was the leader, and it was 20 to go. And the guy was 7 seconds back and hunting me down half a second at a time. And he was coming, and he caught me, and he went on by. And I was, as you know, Greg, you heard me, I was frustrated. I was pissed. I felt like I gave up the win, and I had effectively. As we came to the white, I was 3.5 seconds back from him. He had it easily won. On the backstretch, I come around on the white, and he's down on the inside into the wall. No idea why. No other cars around. I drive on by and win the race.
And this is like a lesson for perseverance, right? You could have easily just given it up and maybe lost a whole bunch of, even, I don't know how far, was there anybody else that was close to you in the time-wise?
Seconds back. So I had second locked up, and I was just bringing it home at that point. But you're right. I mean, you got to stay in it because anything can happen. And even though that I conceded the win to that guy at that point, he lost the race.
And that's the thing. Like, we don't have parts failures or anything like that on here. You have, I guess the parts failures would be computer issue related, or if you do have a little bit of damage or something in the car, you can overheat and pop it. But you either crash or something like that. That's the only way that somebody's going to go out. So when something like this happens, it's like, you got to take it. You put yourself in that spot by racing as hard as you did.
Yeah, and so I'll take the win. I don't feel bad that the guy he said he had a graphic tearing on the last lap. So it was a graphical issue where he couldn't see or something momentarily, and he wrecked. And I feel bad for him. I mean, he deserved to win. He was faster than me. He had a better strategy. We had a green flag stop before the end there, and I had stopped a few laps before him. And he had better tires, and that, I think I lost the race because of that. But yeah, he was faster, and he was going to win it. But you know what? I'll take it. 76 career win. It's a crown jewel race. I think Tony was saying, I've won the 500, I've won this. Now I need to win the 600 and the Indy race.
What if it's graphics tear? Could he have been, maybe his system was getting taxed and like overheating? Maybe he just so long running it.
Just the last lap. I mean, what's the chances? He's 20 seconds, not even 15 seconds from the checker. The other thing about this win is it was redemption for me because of my wheel problems and because of my brain problems. On Sunday night, I basically blew the engine by misshifting. I shifted down instead of up like an idiot. It wasn't an equipment failure. It was a brain failure. I felt pretty bad about it. And then Monday night, I had wheel problems in the league race, and which caused me to basically rip my steering wheel out of my cockpit finally, drag it into the living room, and put my feet on it and just literally pry off that wheel until it about broke my collarbone. In fact, it's still sore on my collar, but I got it off. I finally got the freaking wheel off. And so I told Greg, if this thing fails during the Southern 500 once, if anything goes wrong with this, I'm going to take the bat to it, and we're going to smash it into a million pieces. But and guess what? It didn't fail.
And I said that was definitely becoming a social media post, because we definitely missed out on you cranking it and trying to get it off as a social media post in the first part. We needed that video.
I was tempted to film that, but it was kind of a compromising position.
It still would have been funny.
We do like to avoid showing Mike in compromising positions.
Okay, we'll talk more results later in the show. But yeah, congratulations, David, on your top split Daytona, and then by Southern 500. And then Brian had a chance to talk with Chris Scales about his first OBRL win.
And it was definitely a successful week for Tifosi. Had a lot of good things happen. We'll get into more of those as well later on when we jump back into results. Let's get back into topics and talk some more Season 4 releases. We have some videos, a series of them. The first one talking about AI racing. And Tony, did you get I know you were interested in the AI topic. Did you get a chance to look at this video as well?
No. All my focus went into the one that's coming up in a couple of topics. So I got no idea what this is all about, and I just about stepped on myself here because I was like, I think this is all road stuff, so I fell asleep. But I do see an oval car snuck in there.
So, what is coming to it? AI is including the new supercar, or it's going to include the supercar V8s, super late models. It's going to have Bathurst and the Phillip Isle. There's a bunch of cars that are being added to and tracks that are being added to the AI.
Yeah, and this video was an Aussie that was particularly excited about the supercars being added.
I'm actually really interested to it'd be good practice to run Bathurst with the V8s to just get ready for that event.
So this is the next several topics, guys, are short videos that iRacing put out that are 1 to 2 minutes that showcase season 4 content that's upcoming. And so this first one is, hey, you're going to have AI in supercar, super late model, and then we're adding Bathurst and Phillip Island. Now, super late model really gets my attention. That's a fun car on a short track like a Thompson Speedway or a Bristol Motor Speedway or something like that. And with the AI, to be able to go in there and like practice and kind of lean on the AI more than you would in a real race, because you don't want to wreck anybody. But you could get aggressive in an AI race, and it'd be pretty fun, actually.
Yeah, they're not going to threaten to buy you a plane ticket so you can come visit them after you wreck them, right?
I thought that was only you.
No, that was another fella. You don't remember who that was?
The other thing is the person talking during the video is different each time, and it is an iRacing staff member. I think I heard Christian Schalliner on one of them for sure. I think Aussie Greg Hill was on the first one. I don't know, David, if you recognize any of the other people.
One of them was Greg West, I believe, in there at some point. It was definitely Challenger is easy to recognize
with his accent, yeah.
And I run with him in majors, so I've talked to him on there and heard him interviewed several times because he wins like every other race. One of the videos it's featuring some Class D road updates, which is a lot of the lower level Class D cars. Greg, you check this one out?
Yeah, so this one I thought was interesting because I was like, what does it mean by Class D road update? What are they doing? And I forgot what was part of all this series, but then when they're explaining it, so they got the Ford Mustang, the Pontiac Solstice, and the Kia are getting, there's a new tire update to it, but also there seems to be some brake bias adjustments now with these cars as well to take some of the oversteer that was on them out of it to help them perform a little bit better on the track. So it'll be interesting to see what they've done to the parameters of the tire to run them a bit better. But I think one of them, they described the Pontiac Solstice, instead of having more of a street tire, it now has a racier tire, which will bring the racing, down the track on the track a lot, make it a lot better.
And it specifically mentioned having a wider range of brake bias adjustment on the Mustang.
Yeah, and that's important in that car because that car is very, very, very heavy on the nose, and it's not really one of the better ones to run. If you're in that series, it's mostly Miatas that you're going up against, and then you got the big Mustangs out there that down the straightaways are fast, but in the corners they get eaten up.
I think one thing I took away was they said the Pontiac Solstice would be a competitive car against the other ones in its class, more so than it used to be. A lot of people wouldn't pick it because it's kind of the potato out there, but they made some changes to it to make it better, and so it's interesting.
And that Solstice, that's one of the free cars, right? So that would be anyone that signs up, you would already have that. So that, that's kind of a nice thing that they're updating a car that's in the free range too, right?
I think the Kia is too, isn't it?
In a couple of those leagues that like to run funny combinations, they run those cars a lot. So they may enjoy these updates.
Yeah, I ran the Kia Optima on an oval in some hosted race a few weeks ago, and that was a blast. I mean, it was a really fun squealing the tires, but now we have the new tire model, whatever that is called, on these cars, and I'm anxious to see how it runs, if it's different.
So for the classic car guys, the Lotus 49, another one of the road cars, is also getting an update, and this is the video I think that Challenger did, and essentially it boils down to they're working on getting a better feel in the tire so that it's easier to tell when you're approaching the limit instead of it just kind of becoming a surprise.
Yeah, and one theme in this one and the Lotus 79 video was they were trying to make the setups from the period be more, or make it drive more like the car from the exact period. Like I'm kind of jumping ahead, but the other Lotus video basically said just that. They found a setup from the '67 season or whatever they were talking about, and they were basically using the same exact setup, and they've changed some of the characteristics of the car to make it, more lifelike, I guess.
Also, more they're providing more sets for each track, I believe, instead of just having to load the I guess what completely stock sets or base sets.
Right, specific road sets, and then on oval, I think they had high and low downforce for the 79.
Do you think that some of this directly translate to having Dale Earnhardt Jr. being more part of some of this stuff? It seems his MO to be, be more period specific with some of these things and how they work. I mean, he doesn't have any background with these cars, but it just seems his MO for, let's get the setups right and make the car, back to the period correct.
Maybe on the setups, but as far as the tire model, I think they've just been really working on the tire model specifically for all the road cars, because like half of these videos are each of the road cars. The next one is the GT3, right? They've made a big change on the GT3s, which is including focusing on the feel of the tires and in the high speed corners like Eau Rouge at Spa. And most of your older setups will probably be too loose now. Also, they've worked on the tires handling under cold and how they respond to heat, where they'll be a little bit worse under the cold, but will peak with the handling after a few laps, and then there should be some fall off and then recovery as the car gets lighter from the fuel burn off.
And this is one of the more popular cars to run, because this would be like the VRS series and things like that, or the GT3s.
There's a VRS Sprint series. It's the one you actually run when you run the 24-hour Spa, right? There's also a VRS Endurance series that's 3-hour long races, I believe. So yeah, these cars get run a lot.
So that's good for the roadside. That's definitely an awesome update to have, to see if they can get some more feel out of the cars.
Look, nobody would point the finger at iRacing if they never touch these older cars again, like the Lotus 49, the Lotus 79, the Kia Optima. Their heyday is come and gone, and I don't think any iRacing members would fault iRacing if they never updated them. But they are. They're going back to these ancient cars that nobody drives, and they're making them 2021 worthy. Let's put the latest tire on it. Let's give it a once over and make sure it's period specific. Like the Lotus 79, they made some adjustments to it where it's likely slower times in the slower technical corners and higher and similar times in the high horsepower, high speed areas. So they found I needed to make some adjustments there based on downforce or whatever, and they did. And so it's very cool, I think, that they're kind of going back to the back catalog and updating everything. It's great.
That 49 though, and especially the 79, have quite a few leagues that have good numbers though. So those cars are not completely in the no drive status.
Don't they have a Grand Prix series that's on the NASCAR Network Spotlight now, or whatever it is? Always shows up on like a Sunday morning. I always see it on Facebook or something, like, or come across, but David, when we ran that 79 at Long Beach, it is a fun car to run. It was difficult to know at that track. I don't know what it's like at a higher speed track, but it was fun at the Long Beach course.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I remember running the 49 the year before, and that one was a nightmare. And the old transmissions, if you don't use any blip assists, were a lot more challenging to use. You jump in a GT3 car, you just flip the pedal. These, you had to blip when decelerating, and you had to clutch when accelerating.
Okay, so we're going to keep moving. The next one is a big one for us, I think. NASCAR shock updates, and so they've made changes to the B and the C to make it more like the next gen shock. So they're changing the shocks on B and C, and so it's going to have a few less adjustments. It says the previous shocks only allowed for low speed adjustments. Now you'll be able to adjust for track specific characteristics. They put out a video about it, and then there's a user guide as well called the Shock Tuning User Guide. And so if you learn how to tune these shocks, it's going to work on next gen, B and C, respectively. And so this is a kind of a change in direction to get the three more in line with each other. So as you learn and progress up through, C, B, and A, what you've learned in shocks goes with you.
Yeah.
Well, also the B car and the C car in real life has the more advanced shocks, even though they're still trying to run some of the older body styles and carburetors, except some of the older technology. They are up to date on the shocks in real life.
Well, they put a lot of money into the shock programs and a lot of these companies, but obviously the car that's left out of that is the A car, and is that because of the series that's still competing right now, you think? Or they didn't update that car because they didn't want to change it?
It's a retired car in just a couple months.
Yeah, but
it's going to become a legacy car.
It's still, it still would have been something that if it's a package, they could have possibly thrown it on. I get what you're saying. I'm thinking it wasn't done because it's being run in a competitive series.
Well, it's just like they're not working on the damage model with the A car because it's going away, right? They're going to burn resources on any major updates to that car.
Now, looking at this PDF, I mean, I don't know. I guess you have to be an engineer to understand what's going on here, because I have no idea.
How about the jet car, Mike?
This ain't the jet car.
Oh, this isn't the jet car. This is the Indy car. Sorry. Yeah.
Well, it's getting tire updates as well. It says you're going to be able to drive the car more on the edge, and there's going to be more strategy options between the two tire compounds. And, this car is getting all the treatment as well.
Yeah, I did watch the video. I was the one who put together the notes, actually, on this set of videos, and they were actually doing some drifting almost with the cars and being able to hold on to it.
Well, that's the biggest problem that used to be in these cars, is if you get it washed out at all, it was done. You were spinning out no matter what. If you lost traction in the back, there wasn't really a save to it. There was no helping with the handling. So this here is definitely, it feels like it's more of maybe a more forgiving tire compound.
That's the way these videos, all of them, that's the common thread. You'll be able to manage it easier. You can find the edge of grip before it slips easier. The transition, is more smooth, before you lose it.
Well, and a lot of it is such a slow speed. It's like slow speed corners where they spin, and it doesn't make any sense. And I think, didn't we have, when we were doing the coverage of like the IndyCar series, didn't Joseph Newgard he said something like these tires don't even feel like anything close to what they were running in real life. So maybe this kind of would bring it better, closer to that way for them.
Well, they say that specifically, that they got IndyCar driver input to facilitate these changes. This next one is exciting, Tony.
Yes, sir, it is. So this one's awesome, and I know a lot of people have been asking for it. We've talked about this here as well as on the Aftermath. AI hosted is coming to iRacing finally. This has been long overdue, in my opinion. I'm excited. This works in hosted and league. So you throw up a hosted, or you got a league and it's a little on the shy side. Fill it up with AI, and you can all still race. Whoever shows up can still race. You just got some AI to crash out or do what you will with. But yeah, this is good stuff. I'm excited about this because if I want to jump on, do some practice with Lisa, we can do this together and have some AI and just nobody else, so we can just go and figure stuff out, or working on certain things. Finally.
Right, you could have a passworded hosted room with you and Lisa. Nobody else can get in, but you have 40 cars.
Yep, exactly.
This would be just good, just even for us, like a Tifosi race, and then fill it up with the rest AI and just have fun, right?
Yeah, we get 5 or 6 of us in there with our sets, that we're testing. We'll do AI for the other cars, and yeah.
Next hosted race, we all jump in P1 LMPs and stick Mazdas out in AI and run around an oval.
Wait a minute. If one of these cars throws a bad block or wrecks David, do they have to worry about getting protested?
What I was thinking is, in my head when I saw this, was when I'm on the track, is it going to be easy to tell an AI driver from a real driver, like on the relative? I mean, is it just going to say Tyler Hudson? And I can't, if I'm not savvy, I don't know if that's a real person or not.
Well, here's the thing, Mike. It's up to the host of the server, but they can put in whatever lineup they want. So you want, like the NASCAR guys, throw them in there. You want other like F1 guys or Indy guys.
Oh, they can make the roster.
Yeah. The host controls the roster.
So around here, sometimes cops will leave a cop car sitting somewhere just to make people slow down, and they'll just leave it empty and set it in a location for a while. So it'd be pretty funny if we just started having them cross AI happen to run several official races somewhere, just to kind of keep people in their toes.
Just have there's 9 NEM crosses on it, and actually NEM cross joins the hosted room. What are you gonna do then?
And it says something about, like, if the host leaves the room, then the AI leaves with him.
Talk about packing up and leaving.
And taking your ball and going home.
Oh yeah, I'm taking my AI with me.
And then if he joins back in, then they all join back in.
What happens if you're at, say, Daytona, and you fill the field up, say, half and half, and there's a big one? Do the AI just drive straight? Like, I don't know how the AI works in that. I don't think I've ever tested it at Daytona, but what's going to happen if they just go flying in and just completely wreck everything?
So I haven't tried this, obviously, but I'm just trying to think how this would work. What if, okay, so I put up a hosted room. It has a practice, a queue, and a race. Are the AI part of the practice? And if so, I have, the 3, let's say there's 3 of us and the rest are AI. So then a fourth team member joins. Does that mean one of the AI people just magically disappears when somebody joins? Or, I mean, how does that, I'm just, trying to imagine how that works. Or do they add the AI just for the race? And that's not the practice.
Well, if it is practice, Mike, it better be programmed properly, where you go out there, they only go out there and hot lap 2 laps at a time, go back down pit road, fool around and go back out for another couple laps, spin out, wreck some things. There better not be any long runs, because there's nobody in practices that ever do any long runs.
Except for David.
If I understand this correctly, there's an option that you can set. So, like, the AI drivers can only compete in AI-enabled cars, but you can allow other iRacers to run in cars that were designated for AI.
So basically what you're saying is you could have a field of, say, the host could have one spot and then there's 42 spots. He sets it up as AI and it just knocks AI off as it comes in.
That's how I understand it. So just don't quote me on that, but that's how I understand it.
You've been radioed.
So like David said, you and your teammates are on the LMP1s, and then you put the rest of the AI in the Star Mazdas, and they're like moving chicanes.
I just think it would be interesting to see if how it would work in a race, like just how their strategy and everything would. You know, I'm just thinking of our league that we run, and if they added the back of the field another 10 cars that were different, right? Like, Mike, if you came in late, would you have to start behind all the AI in that too?
Yeah, lots of questions. And I think Jeff Marble, you know, he's got a big question on his plate. You know, we've been talking about trying to fill the field over there at, you know, Fast Track Racing, and this might be the ticket.
If I know anything that we've learned from the league, they don't like change, so I don't know if that's going to be something that they change.
Imagine an AI winning a league race.
Oh my!
I'm pushing an AI to the win for Talladega.
Is that a win and you're in?
Is that how, like, manufacturers, they all work together at, like, the restrictor plate, so AI works together, just like Tifosi does?
Well, I'll definitely be experimenting with this in hosted, and then try to get these answers. I have a lot of questions about how this works.
Do we have another tease video here coming up in this? What do we have here? Hashtag soon. Oh, I probably considering the other hashtag.
Yeah, hashtag HUN, which is what, Hungary, right?
Hungering.
Yeah, it's Hungering.
And so it's a onboard video of a F3 car or something going around the track.
It's the F1 McLaren.
Oh. Coming soon, just like everything we've talked about. I mean, everything on the show has been like season 4. This is what's coming. Boy, lots of content. Well, not content, but changes to content, like the tire updates and the car updates on all those different road cars and the AI changes. Hey, Tony, you sent this one in kind of to reminisce, I guess.
Yeah. I was just, cycling through YouTube, kind of going down the old rabbit hole, if you will. And this one came across my viewing pleasure. And so I was like, oh, tempers. I like tempers. These are fun videos to watch. And sure enough, second one in is when Bubba has his iRacing meltdown. And it brought back some funny memories because I was like, oh, yeah, I laughed at this last year. I'm laughing at it again. This is great.
And it shows him literally stopping on track in the groove, slam on the brakes, and hold down the exit key, and get out of the car.
Oh yeah, full rage quit. It doesn't get any better than that. That's how you do it. If you're looking for the rage quit Hall of Fame, well, nothing got thrown or smashed, so I guess we're missing out on that. But he went Kyle Busch big time.
So no baseball to a $2,000 base.
He took his baseball and went home.
He screams "Peace out" as soon as he hits the quit button.
These videos are such rabbit holes, and once you start going into them, you find multiple ones after another, and then there goes the hour.
Oh yeah, they're dangerous.
The best video still of all time, though, of reaction videos was not a rage quit, but was it Roger or was it Malik that got up and with the car still rolling when he took a win to celebrate?
He stood up out of the chair, like right after the checker or after the line. The car is still, rolling. Yeah, that was Malik, I think. We'll talk about Malik and the Coke race a little bit, but
looks like we have an Operation Motorsport benefit race coming up. It's 4 hours at the Glen. Here's the reminder of it. We talked about this a couple times. It is on September 12th, and the mission is to engage through the motorsport ill, injured, or wounded service members that are disabled veterans affected by military service by leading to their aid and rehabilitation. Basically, it's trying to get iRacing gear for veterans, disabled veterans. It's been 20 years since 9/11, and they're aiming to recognize and remember the first responders who laid their lives down as well, and the service members who pushed forward afterwards.
Yeah, don't forget to register at madsimracing.com. The other reminder race is the 8-hour IMSA at Daytona. Is September 18th. It's a benefit for a local autism organization. And that's in the forums. You can also find the link on our website. But we always want to help support autism and good causes like that. So, hey, if you guys want to race, get signed up here. I don't know the specific link to sign up. You'll have to get more information from the forum link.
8 cars in an IMSA race now? Or in...
Yes.
Yeah, you can have 8? Okay.
Yeah, there's 3 GT3s now in the IMSA fields with the 5 GTEs, no, 4 GTEs and the LMP.
Okay.
All right, let's talk podcast housekeeping. Tony, the Aftermath was missing a host at some point and rambled on, but it was entertaining.
Yeah. Well, we had Tom Ogle from the Old Bastards League. He won the Aftermath Truck Series championship. So we had him on. What a great guest. And yeah, how about that? I bail halfway through. Those guys did a great job on their own. They didn't need me there. I was just kind of slowing things down anyways. That was a good show. That was really good. I enjoyed listening to the second half of that, just kind of kicking back and hearing those guys go at it.
I thought the captain was always supposed to go down with the ship.
Oh, I did. I'm down there kind of holding it up, just keeping out of the way.
This time it was the ship went down with the captain.
Yeah, and it was good to hear Tom Ogle and his story. I like the part, he used to go real world racing. Now he's iRacing, because it's convenient, it doesn't cost a lot of money. And he talks about stuff like that.
Yeah, these old bastards have a lot of stories in their back pockets that we're finding, and they are such an interesting bunch. We've only really scratched the surface of these fellas, so hopefully as we go on, we'll be able to get more and more of them on, and hearing a little the tales and stuff that they got. A lot of them have some really good racing stories, so looking forward to it.
All right, and we're also over at the Performance Motorsports Network. Go check them out for anything motorsports and fantasy.
Well, that's it. We finished the regular season, and we're on to the playoffs now. And boy, oh boy, I tried that late charge there, couldn't quite make it. But Res Dog won the the regular series champions, and I was able to close the gap a little bit. But yeah, he had that thing in the bag. But that was, I don't know how many you guys had left standing at the end of that last race, but I fared out not too bad. I think I actually won the day, but that's only because I just had 0 picks, if anything else.
I see.
So now we get the big reset.
Yeah, and I wish they would make this a little easier to find the rules for the playoffs. I don't know if they've changed it from last year or not, because I just have not been able to find anything. So I guess we're just going to find out how it works when we go to make our lineups. But last year, so they reset all your picks, and you get to we're down to 5 usages of each one. Now, I think it was last year where you had to pick you could only pick so many playoff drivers. And in your garage, if you had a playoff driver, you could only swap him for a playoff driver. And if you had just a regular guy outside of the playoffs, you could only swap him with another one that was not in the playoffs. So I'm not sure if that's going to carry over or not. Like I said, I just have not been able to find anything on it. And they need to do a better job of getting that information easier to see. I
think the reason there isn't any clarification of it, because I don't think there's any difference between regular season and the playoffs. They just give you the 5 extra count from what I can see there. Tony?
Well, that may very well be. Like, they may have just scrapped the whole playoff idea and just let it run, reset those usages and, just to keep that going and keep that a little extra interesting. But, yeah, that very well could be. According to the points, nothing has changed as of yet. And I would have thought they would have done it by now. So, yeah, maybe this is the way we're going to go. All right.
Well, in the drop down, you can pick playoff points only, and everybody has 0 at the moment. The grid is reset.
Oh. Well, would you look at that? Huh. I don't usually look at this thing on the computer. Usually it's on my phone. This is cool. You can go through every race and see what's going on. Huh, neat. Learning stuff. This is fun.
I learned stuff good.
We talk funny accent now.
Yeah.
Well, let's start talking software and hardware. Yeah, I said that backwards because the first one we're going to talk about is actually a software. We have a forum post that was sent to us, and it's a link from a listener, and we'll read the note that he sent. Hi guys. An amazing free giveaway to talk about on tomorrow's podcast. It's a free giveaway of a 300-hour build time full iRacing cam pack for all cars and tracks. It's absolute broadcast quality used by a broadcaster. Please feel free to share with the lounge community the above link. It has transformed the sim for me in 24 hours already. And you can go to the forum for the details. This was from Alex Stabovich, a longtime listener.
Yeah, I was just saving this tab for sure for after the show. There's a zip in there, and he gives you instructions on what to do with it. You have to unzip it into your iRacing folder, basically. And then it says the cameras must be loaded in for each car and track. And he gives step-by-step instructions about what to do. And I'm going to try this out. I believe, Alex, that it's transformed a sim for him, and I'm going to try it and see what I think.
I was just looking at some of the detailed camera choices and stuff like that. There definitely is a nicer array of angles that he's talking about in here.
I've never really liked most of the default pack. When the TV views are usually just kind of too far away, and even all of the suspension cameras are not terribly great too. I guess they're more for actual setup building, but I'm looking forward to checking this out.
Well, there is a new camera at Daytona called Spotter, and then there's a screenshot one. But the Spotter one, I actually used that a little bit this last week when I was watching some of the teammates, and I found it sufficient to kind of monitor what's going on. So I definitely would like iRacing to add that to all the tracks.
Well, not just for spotters, but if you're a league admin who wants to watch the track to throw your own cautions, you might want something like that.
And you would think the name Spotter, it would be like on a spotter stand kind of thing. It's not like that. It's more of a follow, the action kind of cam.
Yeah, I usually use Far Chase for that, right?
It's basically a far chase, but turned to the side.
But an actual spotter stand would be handy too for somebody who's just watching out for accidents. like say they want to watch the road course and check for an accident that they think might be worth calling caution for.
Is there anything stopping iRacing from taking this camera pack and, building it into the package so it's available for everybody without you having to go and zip this and do that and this?
Only that they don't ever have a history of just snooping somebody's stuff up without giving them credit for it. All right, they like to leave a lot of the stuff to the third party guys so that they can continue to also develop it as they go.
I mean, when they rolled out the forums and the forums were ugly at the beginning, I mean, we had a user, was able to put up a style sheet pretty quick to make them usable. And iRacing actually embraced that and used it in that scenario. This is another scenario where they should just do that. I mean, if this is the quality that Alex says it is, and I mean, there's, like you said, there's not a lot of great cameras to choose from. Why not add, another 20 or something?
Well, it'll be handy. Greg, would you like to tell us about this 270-degree sim racing?
I said I was going to take it. Can one of you take it? Because I got to fix the camera here because Brian came in.
Ruh-roh.
Well, came in right at it.
I'll tell you right now, I did not pre-read this, so you're going to get to hear me read this dry. There's a new Immersa Sim 270 that provides a powerful yet portable display solution for the truly unique sim racing and flying sectors. It offers an uninterrupted and distortion-free view spanning 270 degrees horizontal, which is over twice that of most VR headsets. It's unparalleled in the sense of realism may be experienced where the virtual world is all-encompassing.
This is crazy. I mean, this is a company in the UK, and this guy goes to their facility and tries out their thing, and it's like a big old orb, I guess you would call it, that has projectors within it, I guess is the way to describe it. The back of the orb is open, so you can step into it. It's basically got an 80/20 motion cockpit in the center, and they call it the Immersa Sim.
This would definitely get it done, I think, even better than the triples, right? VR is handy for me because I can look, and I love I still like the 3D feel, but if I was going to go monitors, this might be the route I would go.
I have a feeling because of the way you're sitting in it when you're looking, it would probably resemble VR a lot because it's just the way you're immersed and it's wrapped around you. You don't have, I mean, I haven't run triples, so I don't know how much you see the bezels and stuff, but a full range thing like here where there's nothing cutting it, it would be, I don't know, it would be top notch.
Well, you're in VR. How many times do you turn your head, Greg, in an oval?
On an oval, I lean it. I've noticed I've leaned it, but I'll look a little bit depending on it. It's more road racing. I use it for.
Yeah. On an oval, my head does not budge except on restarts.
The only time I've noticed that I really use VR more is Bristol. Bristol's the one you really have to be looking ahead.
Now, one thing about this, I mean, it's a sphere, a circle, round ball, so to speak, that you're sitting inside of, basically. And so that means the viewing distance from the eyeball to anywhere on the screen is literally the same distance. And so here's what they say about it. They say the display is totally seamless. Most notable is the eye point viewing distance. Compared to multiple monitors tilted inward, the focal range remains consistent. The whole scene is therefore entirely in focus, so your attention can shift rapidly and without conscious effort.
I kind of like how simple it kind of is too, though. It's not really that elaborate. Yes, it's a sphere, but it's such a very easy setup, it looks like.
And it really does good for the immersion if you're sitting in a cockpit that looks like an actual chassis, right?
Well, it also looks like, it kind of reminds you of like you're sitting in a nose of an airplane.
So it's called an Immersive Display Group UK. and check them out. I mean, I don't know a price, but you know what that means.
Well, this next article is interesting. I have not given it a look, but this almost looks like a paradigm shift in graphics, huh?
Yeah, this is big news. I mean, Intel Arc is the company's first gaming GPU. It's going to debut in 2022, according to Engadget.com.
I am a gamer. So are my. We quadrupled the performance.
And so Intel is basically making their own, high-end graphics cards. And can you imagine, to build a computer and to say, okay, I'm going to do an Intel build, and it's Intel chip and then Intel graphics. I mean, that's kind of cool.
I think. What do you guys think of the name, the Arc? Like, obviously we got NVIDIA, and you got this, you got Arc. Yeah, I think it's kind of a catchy name.
Here's a sneak peek of our
I mean, they got to name it something. So yeah, I mean, why not? I like it.
More competition's more competition's always better too. That's going to help drive innovation and price.
So the Alchemist GPUs will support hardware-based ray tracing, mesh shading, variable rate shading, and DirectX 12 Ultimate. Intel claims they'll be capable of artificial intelligence-driven super sampling as well.
So they're starting off with pretty good parameters to start their whole program from.
Well, you probably wouldn't want to drop a card that's like the equivalent of a 1080, right? When you're trying to come in and compete.
So they did give a quick peek at the Arc graphics in action. There's a video on this article. In the video, it shows games including Forza Horizon 4, Psychonauts 2, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, and Metro Exodus running on the tech. And yes, it looks like the GPUs can also run Cryus Remastered Trilogy. All high-end games, and it's running pretty well from what I see. So more to come. 2022 is when this is coming, so keep that on the radar. All right, and with that, we'll welcome Evan Pasoko to the show. How you doing?
Hey guys, thanks for having me again after quite the exciting playoff opener.
It sure was. So Darlington, let's talk about pre-race a little bit. We had an interview with Smoke, Tony Stewart, talking about his team and iRacing. Pre-race team mentioned the difficulty with the sun glare at Darlington. You also talked about Mitchell winning his 5th pole, Keegan Leahy, teammate on the front row. And in the pre-race interview with Mitchell, he mentioned that the difficulty from the pit road entrance could be a factor in the race.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Mitchell, that was kind of a sign of things to come, right? I mean, Darlington's so unique. It's hard enough on its own, and for this to be the opener and what really is a cutthroat 3-race round 1 to these NASCAR playoffs is tough, right? So this would kind of be a story of attrition, a story of strategy. Of course, you mentioned we talked about how Mitchell and Keegan were on front row. I don't think anybody can deny that the 2311 cars have been the best qualifiers all season long. And for Mitchell, at least earlier on this year, right, the story had been for him that he would qualify on pole and struggle. So that's what I was looking forward to seeing in the first bit of this race, is if he had the race pace, and the evident answer was yes.
Yeah, the race starts off clean with 8 playoff drivers in the top 13, with Mitchell in the lead, Leahy second, Graham Bolin in third. The race settled in early with everyone settling in for a long run and limited passing. Tony Stewart rejoins the broadcast and is interviewed, and we also get some good in-car camera work with Corey Vincent. You could really see and hear that throttle control these drivers have in order to run fast laps around this particular track.
I mean, these drivers are not shy of being outspoken about how they feel about how these cars drive at like the intermediate racetracks and whatnot. So to give them a challenge like this, like I said, as your first playoff race, is certainly quite the challenge that they have to fight through. So I think it's a great place for us to open our playoffs. And I think that, this race had lots of elements. Of course, it's hard to drive on its own. So, drivers were getting into the fence and making a couple of mistakes and some other things. And then, of course, as we worked a little bit deeper in, some fuel strategy came into the mix as well. So we kind of had a little bit of everything in this one.
Yeah, Mitchell DeYoung had pulled out over a second lead over his teammate by lap 13. Around lap 30, Bolin in third is getting pressure from Nick Ottinger, and Michael Conti was closing on Ottinger. At the same time, Logan Clampett is on the move, passing cars up to P6.
Yeah, both of the, we talked about the 2311 cars being strong, but with Clampett and Ottinger, both of the William Byron Esports Chevys had a lot of speed. And anytime you're in a situation like those guys are, right, where you've got one car in the playoffs, one car out of the playoffs, it's kind of something that I, speculated on the broadcast was, is Ottinger here going to try to work pit strategy-wise, race some of the other guys harder to help Logan, or could he be a spoiler, right? Of course, if a non-playoff driver could go on and win this race, it would mean that it would guarantee a minimum of 2 points-paying positions headed into the next round of the championship for the title. So it was an interesting team dynamic looking at, the 2311 cars who are both looking for a title and the William Byron cars who are a little bit of half and half of each. But it was great to see Nick. I mean, he has not had the best of years. So it was good to see Nick having a lot of strength up there. Logan Clampett kind of showing back up, right? I mean, some of these playoff guys have been quiet for the last month or so, right? We talked a lot about the guys on the bubble, but kind of those mid-pack race winners, not mid-pack as far as running mid-pack, right? But kind of like of your 10 drivers, kind of that 3 to 6 or 7 range, right? That were kind of out of the headlines and really didn't make a lot of noise in the last few weeks. I kind of wondered, without some momentum, would that hurt them? But guys like Logan showed that they were just kind of, I think, saving their best stuff for now. And, for most of this race, 8 or so of the playoff drivers were in the top 12 in the race.
Yeah, it's go time for sure. Conti passes Ottinger for fourth and pressures Bolin until he finally concedes P3 after a tough multi-lap battle. And then Darlington claimed the first victim on lap 44 when Bob Bryant earns that Darlington stripe, and he ends up being the lowest scoring playoff driver back in P31.
Yeah, Bob, and we talked to him after it, and he kind of knew at that point, even before the damage, that they just didn't have what everybody else had in this race. And you can get away with a stripe, but when you kind of bounce it off the fence like that, you're going to get some damage. And I mean, it's not terminal by any means, but that little bit of damage that's going to hurt you. When you add that on top of a car that was already struggling a little bit, just made this a night to forget for Bob Bryant.
All right, as playoff contender Vicente Salas moves up into ninth, Shearburn is falling back. Lap 41, Mitchell's lead over Keegan is down to 0.7 seconds. Shearburn is down in 18th this last time by lap 50. And now we have pits. So first to strike, Keegan Leahy pits at 56. Pit stops next, Brad Davies on 58, followed by race leader Mitchell with a late turn down pit road with the majority of the field following suit.
Yeah, and we talked about that pit entry, right, that he alluded to early in this race. And initially, I thought he had a flat just because of how, sideways and kind of out of control he was. But I think it was just kind of locked up the tires, trying to get onto the brakes on the banking up there. And it's a point that I made with Steve, right? The pit lane entry at Darlington's not difficult because it's cookie cutter. It's difficult because it's wide open. Right? If it was, there's only one way to get on and off of the pit lane, it's not going to be difficult. No, everybody's going to be getting in there within a couple hundredths or thousandths of a second of each other. But what makes it so hard is you could do so many different approaches, right, to how you want to get on pit road. A lot of the aggressive guys almost get, all the way to turn kind of 3.5 to 4, right? Like about quarter or 2/3 of the way through that turn before they kind of dive down to the banking. And obviously the car is going to be really tough to rotate when you go from the banking to the flat. And, we saw the issues with Mitchell on this pit cycle and a later one. A couple of drivers ended up close to the barrels. We've seen drivers in the barrels and missing pit road here in the past as well. And through the pit cycle, it hurts Mitchell DeYoung the most because he lost the race lead to his teammate through the cycle. Now, of course, as we got a couple more laps in, Keegan was able to get back through. DeYoung took the race lead back at lap number 79, but those pit stops was just something missing from that DeYoung team.
Now, I digress. I ran and won the Southern 500 last night in NIS, and I had a moment like that getting on the pit road on a green flag stop. I drove down there kind of in the middle. I slam on the brakes, and the thing won't turn. I turned the wheel all the way to the left, like literally all the way to the left, and it still won't turn. I literally slammed the brakes on, and I see smoke in the mirrors. I'm flat spotting my tires, and it still won't turn. I had to stop at the barrels. I got the car stopped, and then I turned it to the left, an inch to the left, and it finally turned.
Yeah, it's just so tricky. And you can make it easy, right? You could not touch the banking in 3. You could just ride the apron, go nice and slow, but you're going to give up like 4 or 5 seconds. That's what makes it difficult, is that there's time to be gained and time to be lost.
Yeah, it looks like you can really dive it in there because, like you said, wide open. You want to, try to not give up any time. And sure enough, you always end up overdriving it. Yep. Let's keep going. Leahy comes out ahead of De Jong after pit stops cycle through, with Nick Ottinger moving up to third. It was lap 79. Mitchell reclaims the lead back from Leahy without much of a fight. And then caution. Bob Bryant gets hooked by Taylor Hurst at lap 93.
And I talked about a bad night's going worse for Bob Bryant, right? Taylor Hurst, we talked all night about, would the non-playoff guys give those playoff drivers a little bit more room? And I don't think that it was malicious in any sense by Taylor Hurst, but it's just not. I would give a playoff driver more room, right? We know the side draft's important, but it's just a mistake. It happens, and it rains, it pours for Bob Bryant, and at that point, that kind of solidified him as the lowest of the playoff cars, and did set him up for a bit of an interesting strategy call later. But at that point, pretty doom and gloom for Bob Bryant.
Yeah, and that backstretch is narrow, and Bob is probably just thinking about, hey, I got to kind of arc into 3 and get down just a hair, and Taylor's trying to get around him. So
and the wall sticks out too, right? Going into the corner, the safer barrier jets out, so you can't expect the guy on the outside to be right on the fence, because otherwise he'll drive into the wall when it jets out into the corner too. So maybe Taylor was expecting a little bit more room, but I didn't think Bob was that far off the wall at all. So just one of those tough racing deals.
Yep.
Mike, the other thing in that too, when an incident like that, you got to be very careful of just net code in general when you're that close.
Yeah, they were rubbing pretty much. All right, so restart 85 to go. Mitchell and Bobby lead the field into turn 1, and then caution 77 to go. Ashton Crowder spins. Ray Alfala ends up taking 2 tires on that stop.
This is where we start to see a little bit of that strategy, right? Ray goes for the 2. At this point, we're closing in on halfway, and we're starting to think of, what's going to be the winning pit call at this point. And, Ray Alfala, not a driver fighting for the championship of this year, can make a call like that. And, once we get to these later stages of this race, we've kind of established who the fast cars are, and it's going to come down to, I think, a mistake, right? A misstep on strategy or a misstep on track to make the difference, because, De Jong had been the good car on the short run. Leahy looked like a good car on the long run. You had Ottinger, who had been improving all night long, and then you got guys like Ray trying to mix up some strategy. So, again, really enthralling race up to that point.
Yep, 72 to go. Mitchell and Leahy lead into turn 1. Then 50 to go. Is a lot of fuel saving going on right now. And then 45 to go. It was Logan Clampett gets around Keegan Leahy for second. 43 to go. Nick Ottinger, Michael Guest pit, and others pit.
Yep, a lot of drivers cycling down to the pit lane. And again, De Jong struggling. We talk about that pit lane entry. But we didn't see, you talk about Ray going off. We didn't see the leaders, really fractor off and into several different groups. For the most part, once one guy up front pitted, they all kind of came in. Sometimes it was like a 4 or 6 lap window, but for the fastest of the cars, they didn't have to mix up that strategy like some of the other cars did, right? They were pretty comfortable with racing against each other, knowing, of course, how important a race win would be.
Now, I didn't take note of what was Bobby doing right about this point.
I think Bobby had been up towards, obviously, through the front of the field here. And I think he kind of just stayed on that strategy, obviously to stretch it to get the one stop to go, and he would have been good to the end of the race. Of course, not to jump too far ahead, but as we got later in this race, we had a lot of cars who had pitted. Some drivers were going to be able to stretch it on fuel, we thought, but it was the cars who, even with an extra pit stop, just had the speed, right? Those were your leaders for the most part, and Bobby was with those guys who, if we didn't have later race yellows, would have been able to cycle back up to the top regardless.
Yeah, and so as laps wind down, 12 to go, Mitchell gets fifth by Matt Busa, and then 7 to go, he gets third from Casey Kerwin. 6 to go, and it's caution. Garrett Maines, Brad Davies, and John Gorlinski crash.
It's tough. You'll have that in these late race runs, but that strategy variance that I was just describing with X drivers, trying to make it to the end, Bobby driving through the field, Mitchell driving through the field. Nick driving through the field. Those drivers were getting held up a little bit in the battle for P2. I think it was with Casey at the time of the yellow. I still think they probably would have been able to get the win if that yellow doesn't come out, but man, was that an interesting battle. I love when we can get those strategy plays to cycle out, right? Let it cycle out. And it was going to be an incredible finish. But it just seems like you're always, after a long green flag run, you're always having some sort of late race yellow. And in this case, you get it between Garrett Maines, Brad Davies, and John Gorlinski. It's just part of it. The guys up front really did not want to see that. But I don't think anybody was surprised by it.
Now, this next one of my teammates on the chat said, for door bumper clear, we're going to have Brett Griffin give the What an Idiot award to none other than Malik Ray, who stays out on this caution when everybody else pitted. The number 11 will lead the field to the green. Bobby Zielinski lines up outside. Ryan Luza behind Ray, and then Mitchell behind Zielinski. And then somehow Bobby gets a black flag, but they cleared it.
Yeah, it was weird. So obviously, I love Malik. He's such a good guy in the series, but I just don't understand the move, right? So you'll have guys stay out, and the idea of staying out, if you know you're not going to be faster, right, is you want to see some chaos, right? You're going to go slow on the restart. You're going to stack people up. You're going to hope you get a couple of yellows and try to maintain some track position. But he just pulled right over, which, by the way, was the right thing to do, right? Considering how slow he was, I just don't understand if you were just going to pull over, why stay out? I guess he led a lap. So maybe that was the only objective for him and his team, but you could have let a lap in a yellow and came down. But what that did is it put Zielinski on the outside of the front row. So Malik fires off first. He clearly accelerates, but he's on 72, 73 lap old tires, right? So Bobby follows him, hits the gas, and blows by him. Well, the rule, obviously, is you can't beat the leader to the line, and iRacing automatically issued Bobby a black flag for beating the leader to the line. Obviously, it was very clear to everybody that Malik fired off first, that Bobby should not have been penalized. And as he's up there racing for the win, as he sees, Mitchell or Nick or whoever was in the bumper there, right, trying to get to him at that point, as he's racing, as what we think is going to be coming to the white flag, he's actively talking on the radio to race control, asking them to review that yellow, or the penalty, I should say. Fortunately, they did, and they were able to clear it. So one of the positives of having those live race admins is that Bobby had that penalty cleared, and that was the right call.
It was the right call. I'm glad that Tyler decided to do that. It was a bad situation. Like, Malik really kind of put them in a pickle there, but it worked out. And so, but then right after that, another caution. It was a chain reaction that saw Kane Cook getting wrecked on the backstretch.
And this is, going back to what I just said about not being surprised. You can be upset about, some of these guys, crashing into each other and all these different things. I don't remember who it was, but one of the drivers had mentioned over the radio something to the effect of, here comes the big crash at the back. And then I think it was Clampett who spoke up over the radio and said, kind of annoying when guys are fighting for a championship. Could we just not? But I mean, there's guys fighting for relegation. It's a late race restart. It's Darlington. That's just going to happen. So another yellow, and we have to extend it to overtime attempt number 2.
Yep, and it's Bobby Zielinski and Mitchell DeYoung. They lead the field into turn 1. Bobby holds off the other road guy, Mitchell, for the win at Darlington. And it shows, I guess he's not just a road guy. He's got multiple ovals now.
Yeah, very poetic. I mean, first in the battle for the position, right? I mean, Bobby fired off better, and that was the difference because Mitchell was the faster short-run car, and he got all the way alongside him in 3, but they kept it clean and had a good finish, right? And the story had always been, Bobby Zelensky is the road course king. Bobby Zelensky is the road course king, and then Mitchell DeYoung shows up and beats him twice this year. And then you're thinking, well, what can Bobby do, right? That was his shtick. So I think it's very poetic that for Bobby to find his footing here on the ovals in an oval race to put him in another shot for a championship is to beat the guy that had beat him at his forte all year, and that was Mitchell DeYoung. Super impressed with Mitchell as well for having this performance at Darlington. But yeah, I think very poetic for Bobby to get one over on Mitchell this time, and cool for it to happen on an oval.
Yep, and he's racing for a championship again, and I'm glad to see he's one of the 4. Hard luck award. I mean, if you look at the points coming out of the race, got to be Keegan Leahy. I mean, apparently he was the man who built that set, that Mitchell and Bobby were using, but he ends up 10th in points.
Yeah, obviously that's the big hit, right? Is Keegan Leahy finishes on the lead lap in this race. He started second. He led 11 laps, and he leaves last in the championship. Just unfortunate for Keegan, and it's by a significant margin, right? You're not scoring any points down there. I think he got 3 points maybe. So he is 27 points, I think, below the cut line. A lot could happen, but that goes to show you that with this playoff format, doesn't matter how good you are all year, one bad race do you in. And I would almost put Keegan into that must-win territory already.
Yeah, definitely in must-win. As well as Bob Bryant, who's down there, Graham Bolin, Mike Conti, Vicente, they make up the back half of the top 10. But, so we got Bobby up there leading. He's in, I guess, quietly, Jimmy Mullis in 3rd, Matt Busa in 4th.
Yeah, that's all you had to do at Darlington, right? Was be quiet. Don't draw attention to yourself, and you're right. Mullis was quiet. Talked about him and Novak a couple of times. They were another duo that raced their way through the field. So Mullis is in, and then Busa up by 1 to the good, Clamp it down 1 to the good. Of course, we really don't know exactly what we'll see at Bristol next time out, and then nobody knows what's going to happen at Talladega. So this next win may be the most important of wins. And even Mitchell, right, who's the highest to the safe on points, is only +9. I mean, it's a point that me and Steve talked about how in NASCAR it's a very slow progression, right? You only got to be the best 12 out of 16, then the best 8 out of 12, and so on and so forth. Much more cutthroat in this format. So Bristol, I feel like, is going to be a hot-tempered race if some of these playoff drivers run into issues because there is so much on the line.
All right. Well, it was an exciting one for sure. What a way to get the playoffs going. And like you said, I mean, next week is it next week? Yeah, that's going to be fun to watch.
It's going to be a lot of fun as we get going for the second race of this round. It'll be 2 weeks' time on September the 14th from Bristol. Of course, you can tune in at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time for Countdown to Green, and buckle up because we are in store for quite a championship battle. I think it may be the most well-rounded playoff grid that we have seen, right? I've seen some people kind of tweeting out their brackets, and in years past, there's like, all right, well, you can kind of safely guess on at least 2 or 3 of the championship 4, right? This year could be anybody. So it's so competitive, and hopefully everybody tunes in and we have a good show at Bristol.
Yeah, it's been great racing all year, and the playoffs are living up to expectations. So, Evan Pasoko, thank you so much for coming on the show and talking Coke racing.
Absolutely. I appreciate the invite, guys, and we'll talk to you in 2 weeks. We'll see what happens.
All right, we'll see you then.
So, Mike, I think you were telling me a little bit earlier that you were really excited about this FGT Elite cockpit. Is this the one?
This is it, man. This is my new number 1. I saw this today. Somebody put it in the chat. And it's next level racing. And It's an iRacing branded cockpit. Now we talked about Next Levels Racing's entry level cockpit that was iRacing branded, where they give you a year subscription for free if you buy the cockpit. Now you can also get the year subscription free if you buy this cockpit. This is a 80/20 profile style cockpit, but I told Greg, I think it's like the next evolution of an 80/20. And it has to do with, there's no brackets to put the 80/20 together. They are bolting it directly to each other. They have it like prefabbed, where it's kind of like, I want to say, pre-assembled. So it's much easier to put together than a traditional 80/20 rig.
I think the best part that I like about this, Mike, is it's offering in a Formula, a GT, and a hybrid style, right? Like it's not just the GT setup that you get here, but I'm wondering what this new, without using these brackets and stuff in the 80/20. I'm not familiar with all the 80/20 rigs out there. I don't have one, but this definitely, when I saw this and saw it come across my Facebook page, definitely caught my interest, and that's why I asked. If I can't remember, I knew we had talked about Next Level. I didn't know if this was the one we had seen, but obviously, looking at it now, it's really, really nice.
Well, yeah, what's different is that instead of the brackets, each of the 80/20 pieces has mounting plates. So that it comes with the brackets built into the profile. What's kind of unique about this, though, is that the vertical profile for the wheel, as well as the shifter, is slightly at an angle rather than straight up and down.
Yeah, what's the advantage to that? But maybe just the look of it. I mean, it looks pretty sharp.
Yep, it's it mostly is just a look, and triangles are usually a little bit more stable too, right? So
is it maybe a reason to maybe be able to tilt it into you while having the poles further away, so you're not obstructed by anything?
Yeah, getting the wheel close to you without having those uprights right in the way, like you said.
No, you're talking a few inches difference. It's a look. It's purely aesthetic.
And the wheel deck that they offer a flat deck, obviously, but they also offer the kind where you can mount to the front or the side of a DD wheel, a direct drive. And they have this cool looking bracket thing where you can change the angle of the wheel mount, like, to tilt it. And move it forward and back. And so the adjustability in this cockpit is extreme. Like you said, you can go from Formula to GT to anywhere in between. The only concern I had with it was the pedal deck seems flimsier than the rest of the rig, and I'm worried about flex on the pedal deck.
Is there any really good views of what the deck looks like to see? Like, I think it looks okay, just because of the way that they mounted. But you're right, Mike. It's kind of hovering. There's no, once it's past the adjustable points, it's sitting there. Depending on how much that give there is in that plate, or even the arms, that's where your flex is going to come from.
And the size of the base profile and the vertical pylons is on the smaller side, so you're having a lot less aluminum holding everything in place here as well.
And so we're saying it makes it lighter weight than other cockpits as well.
I mean, it is showing a hydraulic setup on it, so I'd be interested to see some of the reviews that come out on this once they start coming, once they get them shipped.
So the Elite iRacing Edition is $1,099 US, and it's got blue accents on it. It's which is different than some of the other versions they have, and it's got the iRacing logo on the side and on the upright as well.
kind of wish they would have mixed, maybe say that seat plate, like seat plate maybe be red, kind of mix in the red and blue, right? But it looks like when you see one of the pictures here, the seat that they mount to it has red racing straps or seat harness, and then a black seat, maybe even a red seat would look kind of cool.
I'm not a fan of the seat. It's $400 if you want to buy it from them. It looks very comfortable, but I don't know if I would want that seat.
So they're shipping it without the seat for $1,099 US. Is that what the iRacing one was?
Well, I mean, it shows the seat. Yeah, it shows it without the seat for the $1,099. Yes. So seat sold separately, but that's a lot. I mean, compared to like a Sim Labs P1X.
So it's $100 cheaper if you don't get the iRacing edition. So you're basically just getting, with the iRacing, the different color and the subscription. So they're just making it $100 more.
Got to pay for that $100 subscription somehow, right?
Interesting way of
triple monitor stands, which looks really nice.
I'm actually really interested in this rig too, Mike. This definitely is something to bookmark for to see how it is.
Well, like you said, to get the reviews first, but man, I mean, I like it. I mean, if you were to take an 80/20 rig that's been around for several years and say, okay, let's take it to the next level. And that's the name of this company. Let's re-engineer it. Let's make it better. I mean, this is kind of something I would maybe dream up. I mean, I love the angles. I love the colors. I love that it's 80/20 and kind of sleek.
I like, it's nice that it's got a mouse and keyboard tray accessories, that all the mounts, all this stuff. It's got the same design to it where it quickly, it has the mount on the end of it and you just put the screws in.
Yeah, and they even have not only a triple monitor stand, but a quad monitor stand where you would have the triples and then the fourth one up above. $700 for that. So you pay $1,100 for the cockpit, $700 for the stand, $400 for the seat.
Starts to get expensive.
I just spent a bunch of money, Tony. What do you think about the value of this?
Oh, I don't know. I guess it's about on point, really. I mean, the cockpit itself it's nice. It's a nice looking cockpit. $700 for the monitor stand, though, that seems a bit much.
The quad one, and it's carbon fiber gray or whatever they're calling it.
Yeah, but still, I don't know. I haven't opened it up to take a look at that. I've just been watching this video kind of like play over and over and over. But yeah, like the rig itself is nice looking. $400 for a seat, I guess that's about what you're gonna pay. Does that come with the seat belts and everything, or is that separate too?
Well, for that price, you'd think the belts would come with it.
Yeah, well, when I bought my rig, I've got an NRG seat, and I paid $400 for that. But that's Canadian, so that's like $50 American, right?
Self-deprecating again.
A bit. For like, what you're getting, like you get the keyboard and mouse tray and all that stuff.
Well, if any listeners happen to buy this, shoot us in an email on, as we talked about on the podcast, Housekeeping Alerts. Let us know what you think. So straight out of the real-life motion rig, Brian's back with us, and he's going to tell us about the SRT motion system.
Yeah, guys, how y'all doing? Sorry for the lateness, though. So we're going to look at the SRT motion system. This is it's a 4-actuator platform type of motion system, which is going to come with the Thanos board and a subscription to the Sim Racing Studio. So this is actually almost exactly what I have. It was from a different company, and the way this originally went down was that these guys who were developers, they basically designed this system, and now companies. This is the second one that I've seen other than mine. Companies are like basically building it for you, whereas before. These developers would just tell you, here's what you would need to get these parts, and everything else. Well, these companies are bundling them together and selling them as units. So it's retailing at $33.42 in US dollars, 28.40 euros, which is if you're looking for a full platform motion system, you're not going to get much cheaper than this. And like I said, I use the Sim Racing Studio. I use the Thanos controller, and actuators are very similar. It's a solid system. And compared to the high end stuff that's out there, this is the way to get motion system on a fairly reasonable budget.
So Brian, could I take this package and bolt it onto that rig we were just looking at?
Absolutely. It'll bolt on any 80/20 base system. So, yeah, you won't have any problem doing that.
So I just spent a bunch of money if I add this to it, yeah.
iRacers Lounge, we'll spend your money.
Okay, and let's jump to results. NASCAR iRacing Series. Let's finish up and talk Daytona. Friday Open. I wrecked out. It was a frustrating race. I was actually top 10 the whole time. I led a lap or so, but I just couldn't get anyone to work with me. I didn't have any teammates in my split. One restart, the guy in front of me checked up big time and let 3 people from the outside in front of him, I guess his teammates. That was really frustrating. But later near the end, just trying to get something going on the outside, and everybody bails, and this leaves me hanging out to dry. Eventually, they wrecked in front of me, and I got collected. So it was a fitting into the race when nobody will help you. And I think Tony said this week, Tony Rochette, it's not fun anymore because everyone just lines up on the inside. Everyone's afraid to get out of line, and nobody races.
They haven't quite figured out how to run the high line. In the old package, like last year, you had to run. I guess we can go ahead and put the secret out now, right? I didn't want to give it away last week. But in the old package, you have to run right beside the inside line the whole time to get that second line running. But now, if you do that, you scrub off speed. But if you get a line of 3 or 4 cars going, and you let it wash out, and you trust nobody's going to stick it 3 wide and break up the outside line, then you can run right up there, and it'll work. So it's just it does require a little bit more trust, and boy, we'll talk about it. It doesn't happen very often. They'll just turn around and leave you, or try to cut it 3 wide.
All right, so you got a P8. You were contending, but your drafting help abandoned.
Yeah, you were watching at that point, I believe, calling out what was happening, and I had a good Daytona week, and we already talked about one of the wins. It was, but all 3 times I was on the NIS race, I was either second or third coming to 2 to go, and made the move to the outside all 3 times to pass the leader. And this one, I had a guy go with me, and then he couldn't push, and then changed his mind and turned around and left me, and I fell to 8th. But I wasn't going to just sit in second especially when I already had a good finish for the week. So I was okay with going for it and it not paying off.
Okay, Tony Rochette, P20, got hit by some dumbass running 3 wide. They couldn't hold a line, damaging the engine with 3 to go. Tony Groves, P5, nice run.
Yeah, that one wasn't too bad. I haven't done a whole lot of NIS this year, so I kind of forgot about the tire limits. And so my left sides, I think, had like 50-something laps on it. So those last couple of laps that we had, I was pretty squirrely.
Loose.
Yeah, that is an understatement. But I don't think the guy that went fifth was expecting me to make a run on him and go for it, but I did because I was like, well, what the hell else do I got to lose? Go for a P5. Got it. So that was cool.
All right, nice run. Sunday Open, Tony Rochette, P4. Survived a few wrecks, pushed the leader on the back at the white, but got checked up when tried to make a run. Greg, P16. Oh, this is the race that David won. That
that I pushed him to the win for him.
I remember a little bit more specific, so I got about what got you a lap down. You actually got back in time, but you missed the start, right? And then they had the checkered before everybody, or they had the yellow before everybody got past the checkered, and you drove through the pits, and as a result, weren't able to take the wave around.
Yeah, it's something. Yeah, it was all weird. So I ended up getting a lap down, but then I got it back in the race. And that's what it was. I got it back because of a wave around later on, because we did have another caution, and then I had to pit, and the guys that I was with that was going to pit, I lost their draft, and then that's by the time you came along, I was running out of fuel because I had enough fuel and everything, but it just didn't have enough time. It didn't work out, but I was glad to be able to at least help. You know, I've been saying, what did I say last week? I wanted to make sure, I'm trying to get both of us always in the top split together. I'm working my way up there. I'm getting closer week by week here to be in the top split with you all the time.
Yeah, good job on working together and getting that win, at least for one of you. Sunday fixed. I kind of mentioned this before. I had a brain fart. I, on a restart, went from third to second instead of third to fourth with my sequential shifter. I pushed it forward instead of backwards. I don't know what I was doing. Brian, you were there to witness it, my foolishness.
Yeah, I was I was planning on spotting you two to win, and you got that restart, and I said, "What's that smoke coming from?" And the next thing I know, everybody's blowing by you. Oh, that was terrible.
Now you check the replay, and I only blipped it in there just for a moment. But it was too much.
Yeah, it was not even a full second. It was just a split second that it really maxed the RPMs out. But that was all it took. And I got to tell you, there's guys behind you. They did a hell of a job not running you over and causing a big wreck.
And I was beating myself up Sunday night after that race. I mean, I walked away, 20 minutes into the race, and what am I doing? I felt pretty stupid. So later in the race, it was certainly later in the week, it was certainly nice to get something going. So let's go into that. Wednesday Open, we're at Darlington. David, P15.
So we started this race off. Greg, do you remember me reading off the I ratings at the top of this split?
Yeah.
And it actually wasn't the highest I had seen recently, because Daytona had a ton of people out. But all the pros were in there. Garrett ended up winning this one. But this was a really, for the most part, a clean race. I made a few mistakes early, which probably cost me a little speed. But ultimately, I didn't listen to most of Mike's race because I committed the cardinal sin of listening to Mike on pit strategy.
We need that to be like a thing there.
That's funny because every time you do, it doesn't work out.
Do not listen to Mike on pit strategy. Tony, turn that into a clip.
As soon as Mike gets in there and calculates the tires and the amount of time he's supposed to have, or per pit stop, for the amount of time he can go on the tires, and he starts using the calculator, that's when we need to stop listening.
Now, it was good. It was sound strategy.
No, it was. No, it wasn't. Not in a race that had already gone basically almost halfway before the first caution.
Okay, so it would have been sound strategy in my split.
Not in the top split that only had one caution?
Now, I still was probably going to be between P10 and P15, and that's still better than my car number. It was still a decent finish in top split. But
So what was the call? It was a caution after a long green run. You were 3 laps down. You only had 20 laps on your tires, and I told you to stay out and take a wave around.
Yep, but there was everybody else on my lap pitted. Only 2 cars stayed out, me and one other. And there was only 3 cars on the lead lap. And it didn't again go caution until 5 to go. So it just didn't pay off. But ultimately, it probably cost me a few spots. And then I also had a guy bounce off the wall when I was going by him because it was hard to hold these cars straight on the straightaways. If you didn't have them lined up just right, sometimes they would just kind of jerk to the right. I was fighting that all night too, and he bounced it off the wall right into me. I made a crazy save, and then so I didn't bring the yellow out. But at that point, I couldn't catch the guy that I was running down, and another guy got by me.
All right, so don't take the wave around with 20 to go. And I think I asked.
No. I will do that next time if you tell me to do the other.
Yeah. Well, I think my question was I told you to take the wave by when you had 20 lap tires. What if you had 10 lap tires? It would have been different.
The problem is that I think even after 10 laps, aren't you you've probably already given up a second on the tires. Some of the people, some of the fast guys probably won't be a second down, but turn 3 and 4 just chew the crap out of the front tires, and it's so hard to get around there. That's where you lose all your time.
And my first instinct was to take the tires and race the guys that I was racing, because they were all on about 20 lap older tires than I was, because I was able to go longer than anybody else. And I also should have made sure that I had calculated what window we were in, because we were actually if I'd have gone ahead and pitted, it would have been one less pit stop I had to make. Well, so I messed up there too.
I don't remember. Were you muted when Mike made his big decision in his race where he didn't take tires, but he decided to fuel it up?
Yeah, it was 19 laps on that side. Now, we only had tires to run every 28 laps on a set, and we were pitting on like every 20, and so I was concerned about running out of tires. So we had a caution on a 19 lap run. And I'm like, okay, this is my move. I'm staying out. But everybody else pitted. And so I started fading bad. I think I fell out of the top 10 for the first time that night. And I was concerned, but I eventually caught a caution and got back on the same tires.
Yeah, I just muted it for a while because I was so mad after making that pit call or following your pit strategy that I was like, I'm just going to spew about it unless I just mute and just race. So I just raced for a while, and just I already said it. Just do not listen to Ellis on pit strategy. All right, you can spot, but you can't crew chief.
I crew chief myself to a win somehow, but yeah. All right, Greg. Any more about your P14?
That I can't seem to buy any luck this season. But if anybody can show me how to buy some luck, just send it my way. Show me where, because I can't finish out these races to save my life.
Yeah, you were in position for sure. It's tough it didn't finish out like you hoped.
Well, it's when you're third, restarting third, right behind first. You've been up front all race, 360 laps of 367. We're going to have a 5-lap shootout, and the guy in second goes into the corner. Like, I don't know what he was doing. He was on brand new tires. I don't know how he didn't make the corner, but he hit the wall and yanked it down to the track, and guess where I was? Right at the bottom, and turned me straight into the wall.
Nerves got him. That can happen in those long races at the very end, too.
I think the biggest issue is he was the car that was dominating near the end there. It looks like at nighttime.
You think, and then you cut out.
Sorry. Is that better? What happened was, I think, he was the better car in the second part of the race there. Him and I got better as the night went on, and he was leading a lot more laps there. And then someone got off pit road before him, the guy that's starting that was leading there, and I think he was just trying to make up what he lost, and he lost it all.
Okay, let's keep moving. We got A fixed results. I don't know who these are, so we'll skip them. Let's move on to Monday night Fast Track Sim Racing League. David, P1.
Yeah, and this was definitely another one of those gift wins. I'll call it that way. It was a team effort. We were doing our best to just make sure everybody was up there up front. We dropped to the back, actually, and Bobby made a good fuel call that we ended up all following. We topped it off when the Marbles and a lot of other guys just decided to keep track position. And we were able to all just kind of hang out right behind the field. In fact, we ran them back down from like 7 seconds behind. Was able to catch up, and we were good to go on fuel. So after we pitted, we didn't have to take as much fuel, so we came out in front of all of them, and we control of the front. Though we kept getting just a little separated towards the end. It was just me, Greg, and Bobby, and we were trying to figure out how we should position the cars where we could sort of race for it, but not let anybody else have a chance. Then a couple of lap cars decided, with 2 to go when they're 3 laps down, hey, let's stay down on the bottom now and kind of get in the way. And when we timed it, I got really tight, washed up the track, and that caused Greg to get separated from us. So that was just me and Bobby left. And at that point, the only way he could pass me was to wreck me. So he just made sure that nobody else won. And it was team effort and luck. I was a sitting duck for most of it, because really at that point it would have been easy for Greg and Bobby at any time to set it up.
Push my sponsor.
I wanted either. The truth is, I had my win Sunday. I had my pound of flesh, basically. So I was mainly just like, how do we set this up where any of these other guys can't get it, and how do I not just hand it over? Because you're not supposed to just hand the race over, right? Team orders kind of thing. But I wanted them to both have a good shot at it, and it just didn't work out that way.
My race, I wrecked out. That was the first caution. I caused the first caution. I was in the corner, and my force feedback stopped suddenly, and it caused me to jerk the wheel to the left a little bit, which hit the guy into the inside, and I was embarrassed and ran out of there. That's when I took the wheel off of my rig and to the living room and decided to rip it apart finally. So hopefully I got that fixed. I don't know if the fact of me taking the wheel off finally and getting it back on will fix that issue. I ran 4 hours when I won the Southern 500 without the problem happening, so I assume it's gone. But if it happens again, I'm going to buy a new hub. I'm not going to fool with it anymore. I should be able to run good at Daytona in this league race, and I ran out of there embarrassed because of my equipment failure. Tony Rochette, he was P9, lost the draft trying to help out some cars. Fuel strategy worked in Tifosi's favor, though, with the only caution coming quarter way through. And one thing, there were so many of us in that race, it was kind of hard to organize. It's kind of like herding cats. I mean, we had a plan to go to the back, and then, David, you were trying to make a call, oh, let's not, and then some of us had already dropped back, and it was kind of a mess.
Yeah, but it worked out. We just all completely dropped to the back. I thought we settled down enough where I thought we could all say fuel, and I was like, all right, let's not go to the back. And Steve was like, wait a minute, I'm already back there. And I was like, okay, we'll go back. I called the audible too late. So we went ahead and went back, and we were able to pick everybody up. And we just hung out back there. That was when we were over like 7 seconds, right? And in that 6-car line, we were able to run down the whole rest of the pack.
Okay. Let's talk OBRL. Chris Scales, he got his first old bastard win. And then we have the OBRL Aftermath Truck Series. Congratulations, Dwayne MacArthur. He wins the Aftermath Truck Series at Darlington. Josh Robinson second. And Dode the Hornet Hoskins finished third. the iRacing IROC Challenge Series Season 3 runs their All-Star event tonight, Thursday night. Kyle wanted me to mention that. And with that, final thoughts, Brian McCubbin.
Oh, man, I was all psyched up yesterday for that Aftermath truck race that you just covered. And got on the rig. Everything was ready to go. I was loading into the servers and lost power. The storm, the remnants of the Hurricane Ida came through my area last night and wiped out the power for a little while. So I missed the start. I had a nice new truck that Bobby Jonas painted for me. I was really excited to debut that at the race. And, Mother Nature had other plans. So back to the drawing board. It's going to be I plan on running the rest of that, the rest of the season for that truck series, and with one race that I wasn't able to get in, it's going to make it a little tougher to make the playoffs. But we'll see how it goes.
Do they have the win and you're in thing, or?
Nope.
I see.
All points. Yeah. They had a big turnout too. It was like 43 cars. Chris and Tony Rochette were in it last night.
We got to get you that Starlink. Unfortunately, right now, they are actually not doing any more launches right now. They're waiting until they get the satellite system laser communication instead of radio communication, so it'll jack with science a little bit less.
All right, David Hall, final thoughts?
Right. A little bit of hot off the press news. I don't know if you guys happen to see this, but iRacing just posted the new content. They're also putting out the Ferrari 488 GT3 Evo, and there's a video for it. How different is it than the other Ferrari GT3? The lights look a little different, but it's a Ferrari, right? So check that out. What a week for all of us, right, man? That first win, yeah, it was Daytona, but still, it's a different experience once you get up in a top split, and it's so hard to go up against, Garrett Maines, who's several levels beyond what I am. So yeah, he wasn't in that race. That definitely helped. But yeah, what a week for all of us. This was definitely a banner week for the podcast and the Tifosi team.
It sure feels good. Yeah, and the Ferrari Evo, if you recall, that was one of those things that they saw on the guy's screen when they put out that video on the 4 Hours of Charlotte that we were speculating that might be coming, and there it is.
I just watched the video too, David. That the in-car view, it has that center console that you can buy as a button box. The exact same design that's offered by that one company.
Yeah, that's what the inside of a Ferrari looks like, right? I drive that one in IMSA too. So yeah.
Okay, Greg Hectus, your final thought.
Just looking forward. We got a big weekend here. Obviously, it's the long distance race week for us. So in both aspects, I guess David. I don't know if David mentioned it, but we got the 24-hour of Daytona to do this weekend. Probably a couple more tries at Darlington. So we're going to be running lots and lots of laps this weekend. And, well, it's a long weekend, so that's good too. Got some things in the work here that hopefully we can, we got some big things happening as a podcast here in the next couple weeks too. So that's more to come, I guess.
Okay. Tony Groves, final thoughts.
Last week on my final thoughts, I was talking about my headset blinking out on me. Well, I found out the problem, figured it out, fixed the problem. It's just a battery issue. And then this past Sunday, I was racing OBRL at Daytona, and I don't know, I think we're 2/3 of the way through the race. Caution come out. I let off my accelerator, and the car automatically shifted into second and took a hard right into the wall, took out a couple of guys. So fixed one issue, and then another one popped up. I don't know. I've never had this happen before, and I haven't been able to recreate it since. So could just hopefully it's just a one-off thing. Weird. Anyways, yeah, that's that.
That's the worst, when you take out people inadvertently and you ruin their race, and you just feel horrible, huh?
Yeah, that really, really sucks. But yeah, I don't know. It happens. I've had it happen to me with weird stuff happen to other people, and I get taken out. But you're right, Mike. It does. It makes you feel like crap.
Yeah, same thing when I wrecked Monday night and my wheel caused it. I took out a bunch of people, man. I ruined their race, and I felt really bad about it. But hopefully I'm resolving those issues. Well, my final thoughts, man, the Southern 500, who would have thought, I didn't come into this week thinking I was a contender. I usually run good here. I usually get top fives and gain iRating. But I didn't think I had a chance to win. But the set was this bomb. I mean, the set was great. I mean, can't say anything bad about that. And I feel good. I feel confident, after the crazy brain fart of misshifting Sunday and my wheel problems. And I finally got my wheel off after all this time of yanking on it. I finally got it off. I put some gun oil on it, and it's able to come off and on now. I hope I got it addressed, and to get that win and the wheel to last all 4 hours without a problem. I hope I'm on the right track. And with that, we'll see you on the track later.
All right, hang on a second.